Hello and welcome back. In earlier lecture, we completed up to question number 45. Let us continue from question number 46. Okay. So this looks to be on RAML. They have given a RAML. Okay. Let us see the question. The API needs to be updated using company-wide standard for planned data type. The object data type has been published in AnyPoint Exchange with global reference. Okay. The valid RAML specification that reuses planned data type. Okay. So here data types is written. Actually, it is types. So A is not correct. In B, under types, plan is written, but it is not exclamation reference. It is exclamation include. So B is not correct. C is also using exclamation reference. So this is also not correct. D is using exclamation include. Good. So this is the one. Option D is the right answer. Very simple. Again, 47 also is on RAML. They gave some RAML. Let us see what is it saying. How many private flows does API kit generate? So if I generate flows for this, there will be one flow for get request to/flights and another for get request to/flights/airline 2 and 3 and 4. Very simple. Actually, for each method, for each URI, there will be one. So D is the right answer. Okay. 4. Okay. Now 48. Refer to the exhibit. The order CSV file is read, then processed to look up orders in database. Okay. The Mule application is debugged in AnyPoint Studio and stops at this breakpoint. What is the payload shown in debugger at this point? Okay. So, what is the set payload doing? Set order ID of first row. Payload is set to order ID of first row. That means what is the order ID of first row? 100. Then variable is set to order ID. Set variable, it is setting order ID to none. Here actually they are asking what is the payload. As the payload is set to order ID of first row here, 100. D is the right answer. This actually they try to complicate it. It is very simple. So here in set payload, they have written transformation logic to extract first order ID. It is very clearly told here. When you keep a breakpoint here, whatever is the payload set earlier will be there. So 100. Okay. 49. Refer to exhibit. Okay, there are two flows. Here it is making a request. Okay, fine. In request flow, what is the request flow here? This one. The HTTP request operation is configured to send HTTP request with an XML payload. Okay, here transformation is done for XML. XML payload is posted. Fine. The request is sent to HTTP listener in the transform flow. Okay. That flow transforms the incoming payload into JSON format and returns the response to HTTP request. The response of the request is stored in a target variable named the result. Okay, so this HTTP request component for this, they have set the target variable. If you remember in my training, I have said, if you set the target variable, the payload will not be modified. The result of making this call will be stored in a variable. So the response of this flow will be stored in a variable. But the payload after this component will be same as the one before. This is enrichment, right? After enrichment, the previous payload will be there. So what is the payload at the logger component after HTTP request? It is same XML payload. The output of making this call is set in a variable. We are doing enrichment. So what is the payload at the logger? XML. Yes, the original XML payload. Good. So question number 50. What is the output payload in on-complete phase? In on-complete phase, actually the payload will be batch job result object. It contains summary statistics and no record data. Correct. So you don't need to see the other options also. It is very clear. In on-complete phase of batch, the payload will be instance of batch job result. It contains summary statistics with no record data. Okay, 50 questions are done. 51st question. In execution of scatter gather, the sleep 1 second flow reference takes about 1 second to complete, and sleep 5 seconds flow takes about 5 seconds to complete. About how many seconds does it take from the time scatter gather is called until set payload is transformed? 5 seconds. Maximum of these two, right? As we understood, a thread which is calling scatter gather will wait until both the threads join. So this thread for the second route joins after 5 seconds. So 5 seconds. C is the right answer. Very simple, right? 52nd question. A web client submits request to this URL. The value, this one is captured by a set variable transformer to a variable named book ISBN. What is the data wave expression to access book ISBN? Where's dot? Very simple again. Where's dot book ISBN? Okay. Question number 53. Okay, there are multiple flows. Let us see the question first. The two mule configuration files. Okay, this is one and services is one and order entry is another. The two mule configuration files belong to same mule project. Each HTTP listener is configured with same host string and port number. The path and operation values are shown here. Okay. What is the minimum number of global elements that must be defined to support? Okay. See, HTTP port is 8000. Here also port is 8000. So that means one HTTP listener global element for 8000 port and another HTTP listener for 6000 port, another HTTP listener for 7000 port. Right? So how many? One, it's 8000, 6000 and 7000. 3. So the answer is 3. Okay, question number 54. What data wave expression transforms conductor IDs to array? Okay, we have to write this data wave expression. So as this is an XML, root tag is trains. Where is the root tag trains? Yeah, here. Actually, after trains, this value itself is an object, right? It should be in a curly brackets. So after trains, there is no curly bracket. Yeah, here in C, after trains, there is a curly bracket. And inside this, we are using map function. The output of map function is always an array. So if you are having array of objects and if you want to construct a single object using array of objects, you use evaluation parentheses, right? So if you remember whatever exercises we used in our training, it will be similar to this. Option C is the right answer, right syntax. See, trains is the root tag, colon, the value is an object, so in curly brackets. And this expression gives you array of objects. So to construct one single object from array of objects, you have to wrap this in an evaluation parenthesis. So C is the right answer. So if you want, actually pause whenever I'm explaining, pause and see the question once again, see the answers and try to think whenever I'm explaining. Okay, fine. Question number 55. What should be changed to fix 415 error? 415 means unsupported media type. Here, according to Ramel, the post body requires JSON, but in Postman, when they are sending, here content type is set as text/plain. So the request content type header should be set to application/JSON. That's all. C is the right answer. 56. According to Mulesoft, what is the first step to create a modern API? First step is to create an API specification and get feedback from stakeholders. This is the first step. A is the right answer, but let us see the other options. Performance tuning is definitely not the first step. Gather the requirements to secure the API. What do we think to secure the API? First, we design the API, right? And D says create a prototype of implementation. Why do we even go for a prototype? First step is to create an API specification. So answer is A. Okay, 57. This looks to be interesting. There is for each. What is the payload and quantity at the logger? Hey, I think this question is repeated, is it? Earlier also we saw. We understood that for each will not change the payload, but inside for each, if you have set variables, that variables will be changed. So payload after for each will be same array here. Payload will be 1, 2, 3, 4 because here logger is writing payload first, comma quantity will be 14. This is the same question which got repeated. So that's fine. You know the answer. Question number 58. According to Mulesoft, what is the step to create modern API? Oh, this came just now. I think this is repeated. Create an API specification and get feedback from stakeholders. Fine. Question number 59. In an API application network, if the implementation but not the interface of the product API changes, what needs to be done to other APIs that consume? See, they are saying implementation is changing, but interface is not changing. So as long as the contract is same, interface is same, the implementation can change. So actually, nothing needs to be changed in other APIs because interface is same, right? We actually use interfaces to make calls. We don't bother about how it is implemented. So option D is the right answer. Question number 60, let us see. This is actually interesting. Refer to the exhibit. Here they're using JMS publish, consume, etc. What is a payload? What payload is returned from a request? Yeah, so if a request is given to slash, what is given? So this request component is posting to slash data. Okay, here. This is the flow mapped to slash data. Here we are setting the payload as 1. Okay. So what is the payload before this JMS publish consume? 1. Now this JMS publish consume is invoking is posting to num1, this one. So it is publish, consume, it will wait for response. So it will post 1, this will become 1 plus 1, 2, and 2 will become the payload. As this is publish, consume, it will wait for response. But this is publish, right? It will just publish, it will not wait for the response. So the control will come here, but the thread will not wait for response. So the payload after this component will be the previous payload 2. Then here payload we are incrementing by 1. So it will become 2 plus 1, 3. So 3 will be returned. So answer is C. 3 will be returned. Here the tricky part is this is publish, consume. It will wait for response. But publish component does not wait for response. That is a tricky part. So the answer is 3. Okay. So let us go to 61. Scatter gather. Again, this is based on scatter gather. Fine, let us see what is it saying. The input array of strings is processed by batch job. Hey, what is last message? Okay, this question is wrong, I guess. This question is wrong. It is saying batch job, but here this is not a batch job. So I guess the answer, the question is asking for what will be the response according to the answers. You know, after scatter gather, the payload will be an object, right? We already have seen this. D is the right answer. After scatter gather, payload will be an object where keys are 0 for first route. Value will be the mule message of the first route, like this. D is the right answer. This is a repetitive question. Question number 62. What database expression transforms the input to output? Okay, input is having order item. Item is a repetitive element. So we have to iterate over each item, right? So payload dot order dot star item will give array of items. And map function your index order ID is an attribute, right? So it has to be value dot at order ID. So A is not correct. Here in B, it is the same expression. Order ID is accessed using value dot at order ID. So B looks to be correct. And rest all are directly accessed. Item dot size, quantity, everything is fine. I guess the trickiest part is here on how to access the order ID. So here also looks to be the same. Value dot at order ID, value dot item, line item price. Hey, what is the difference between B and C? Do you see any difference? Payload dot order dot, both looks to be same, right? Both look to be same. What is the difference? Payload dot order dot star looks to be same, looks to be same, looks to be same. Oh, here as colon number. What is this colon number? Actually, this is a mule 3 syntax. As number, this is the mule 4 syntax while typecasting. So B is correct. Here again, D is not correct because they're accessing order ID without attribute at attribute selector. So among all, B is the right answer. So here, as these answers are big, you have to be very careful while selecting, right? I initially thought both B and C are same, but here is reference. It is using as colon number. This is not a valid syntax. As number, this is a valid syntax. Okay, so we completed up to question number 62. Let us complete up to 65. Refer to the exhibit. The main flow contains HTTP request in the middle. HTTP listener and HTTP request use default configurations. What values are accessible at the end? Okay, I think similar thing was there. We understood when HTTP request is made, once the response comes, I already explained you, maybe in first video, I guess, same thing. After response comes, the attributes will be HTTP response attributes. Payload will be the response payload, right? So what values are accessible at the end? Actually, variable will be there. Payload, of course, they have not mentioned clearly. It is response payload, not the original payload. So, of course, here among all, B is a correct answer. Query parameters are not accessible to the logger because after making a request, the attributes will be pointing to HTTP response attributes. The query parameters are lost. This same question actually we saw earlier as well. Question number 64. Okay. The Mule application is debugged in Anypoint Studio and stops at this breakpoint. What is the value of payload displayed in the debugger at this point? This point it is start, right? Here, this is setting payload to start. At the breakpoint, it is C. Very simple. They are actually trying to confuse us, I guess. Maybe we might think that how can the answer be so simple? So nothing to actually get confused. What will be the payload displayed in the debugger at this breakpoint? Start. Answer C. Okay, question number 65. A RAML specification is defined to manage customers with unique identifier for each customer record. What URI does Mulesoft recommend to uniquely access customer with unique? It's very simple. /customers/customer ID. B is the right answer. Okay. So what we will do is we have completed up to 65. In my next video, I'll complete up to 100. Okay, that's all. Let us meet in the next video.